Greetings, brothers and sisters. Today we're going to touch on Magick with the flower of life. The flower of life is the sacred geometric pattern of all creation and existence. For all things that exist, from matter to energy to spirit, literally all that exists came out of this pattern. If we could gaze into the very core of the source itself, this would probably be the pattern which would emerge. This is the divine pattern. It is a timeless geometric miracle which makes up all that is. It is the diagram of the unified field, and it is the geometric map to God, Source, and what is often referred to as the divine. Contained therein can be found all other sacred geometric patterns and shapes. Metatron's cube, the Vesica Pisces, the seed of life, the Genesis pattern, the image of the tree of life, as well as the egg of life, the fruit of life, as well as all other geometric forms. Simply studying and meditating on this sacred geometry known as the flower of life illuminates and enlightens one to all the underlying mechanics of reality, matter, energy, and spirit. There are a variety of benefits. There are a variety of mystical, metaphysical, and spiritual applications of this sacred geometric pattern. Yet the magical applications of this form are barely ever touched on. Now, of course, since there are almost limitless applications to the sacred geometric pattern, that is too much to show in this video. Instead, I will show you a few different magical methods which you may find handy in your own magic and sorcery utilizing this geometric pattern. Now, as I have previously mentioned, there are various benefits and methods you can apply to this. It's pretty infinite. So, let us touch on the few methods which I've chosen to run over today.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. C. Kendall here at the Infernal Obelisk. And today I'm here to talk about how you can use the flower of life and this geometric pattern, this absolutely perfect specimen of true geometry, how you can use this in terms of magical application. Okay, so there have been many different ways that people have used this sacred geometry in their lives. I am targeting this towards mostly the application of one's own magic, one's own sorcery, how you can increase and benefit your spells and your rituals and things of that nature. So without further ado, let's get into it. So simply having this amazing geometric pattern in front of you, what you'll notice is it's immediately almost hypnotic. It pulls you in, it sucks you in. Simply meditating on this alone is a plus. I recommend, if you have never meditated with any geometric form, you seriously check out this one. There are other amazing forms which I recommend you to meditate upon too, sigils, and there are also other geometric patterns which you can meditate on. For example, Metatron's cube is also an awesome example, such as the one before you now. However, let's stick with the flower of life because it is the core pattern. It is the perfect geometric form which has all of these forms in it, even the Metatron's cube itself. Just when you look at it from different perspective and dimensions, you'll see that. So the first method is going to be that. Especially those people out there that want to work on scrying or want to work on perceiving through their astral senses. This is quite amazing. If you gaze right here, right at the center of the actual flower of life pattern, when you have that out in front of you, begin gazing and holding your vision fixed on this one point. As you do that, you want your vision to somewhat relax, to somewhat daze. And what will happen is you'll have this daydream-like, almost distorted, disassociated vision. As that happens, as your vision starts to gaze and drifts off, slowly pull back your vision and hold it, still holding it in that one point, almost as if there is an invisible line here, and then you hold it there. And what you'll begin to perceive is that you start to look at the flower of life from different angles. It may appear to be cubic, it may appear to be something else, or something else, or something else. And this will begin to change. Your perspective begins to change, your observation begins to change. The actual symbol itself may begin glowing in certain dimensions more over than the other. There are a variety of interesting things there. So that's the first thing that I recommend. Let's get on to the second method, shall we? Another method which is often utilized for the flower of life is to use it for a crystal grid. So you'll notice various different points here that you can place these crystals on. And I've just got a handful of random gems that I just picked up here from the side. And usually they'll be spread out like this. And these gems are usually picked in conjunction with one another, meaning their energies complement one another. If you're trying to succeed in a certain task, if you're trying to create a certain type of unique harmonial energy for a specific purpose. So let's say, for example, that you're working towards something that is that is to do with abundance. Well, right here we have the perfect stone for that, which is citrine. Let's say you place citrine right here in the center. Then you would think, okay, what about abundance specifically? Well, let's say there's a specific job, there's a specific career, something of that nature. Usually there are certain gemstones which correspond to different types of prosperity or abundance. Remember, there is more than just one type of abundance, there is more than one type of prosperity. Let's say, and this is just at random, let's say you took one of those stones and you placed it on there. Until you begin adding these stones upon each other and creating a whole crystal grid. Personally, I like doing this, placing on specific tiny quartz crystal chips, placing on certain centers of each petal of the flower of life. Now this symbol in particular is great for increasing and emanating that specific life force which surrounds us all, which is within us all, which has been referred to by many names. Prana, chi, tachyon energy, life force, so on and so on. By adding these specific crystals, you enhance the actual rate of the vibratory frequency at which this energy is emanating forth. Another great use for the flower of life is actually purifying your water. Not only purifying it, but actually sitting with the flower of life beforehand, meditating on it, holding your hands over it and visualizing and feeling that exuding life force entering and exuding out of this geometric perfection. Placing water thereon and simply speaking to the water will have a purifying effect. Studies have shown that merely speaking to water programs it, and ergo placing this on this sacred geometry and speaking purifying incantations, prayers, hymns, or simple statement of intents can purify the water at hand. Also supercharging the water with this potent energy of creation, rejuvenation, and the power of the eternal itself for ritual work. Ergo, you haven't got just regular water. You've actually got charged water for your rituals and spells. You can also take advantage of the life rejuvenating and life-giving energies of the flower of life by placing a photograph of somebody who needs severe healing or needs a lot of healing upon the center of the image. Now, as you can do this, you can also add other crystals on there which are probably correspondent to healing or rejuvenating. Me personally, if I don't want to go that route, I will put on there a variety of different crystal quartz chips. Photo and the name and the date of birth for the person added around the back, the crystal quartz all around, adding that energy and adding to the conductivity of that energy. Maybe a couple healing crystals thereon. Let's say your candle has been fumigated or anointed or consecrated and is placed thereon. Simply igniting your candle as such and focusing on the flame, doing your regular candle magic work. Now also what's going to happen is you can simply visualize pulling down external white light energy. And as you pull this energy in, envision it glowing and moving through the lines. Literally as if it is filling up an energetic grid of light. And of course you can envision the same with these crystals or whatever gemstones you add thereon. And then you can envision that light entering into the gateway or the energetic or sympathetic link placed thereon. Of course, this isn't only limited to healing. If you put on there certain crystals for, well, I don't know, let's say abundance, and you switched out the candle color for green, of course, this could be a little setup for a constant continuous flow of abundance energy. And this actual sacred geometry is going to ensure that flows. Since this is an actual pattern of creation, not only is it going to continuously flow this energy and pull this energy here in and give it a nice harmonial grid to work through, but it is literally going to create from the source code itself abundance that come in your life or the life of others. And for my fellow guys, gals, magicians and witches out there that like to create servitors or thought forms, create first and go first for your regular routine of creating the sigil of the actual servitor, the thought form, or the egregor that you're going to be creating. And then simply place that sigil thereon. I know this isn't the sigil of a thought form, this is the sigil of Suntalak. Simply placing this in the center. Now, like before, you can add thereon a variety of quartz or different crystals. And since you are placing the sigil of an entity who has yet to be created, you can simply focus on the energy of life, the energy of tachyon energy, prana, chi, so on and so forth, exuding out of the flower of life and flowing into the sigil. Simply gazing into the sigil and gazing into the flower of life all at the same time. This will have an interesting effect. Now, let's say you wanted to switch this up a little and infuse more energy into the servitor or the thought form that you're creating. Placing a crystal quartz there on the actual sigil and simply envisioning a ray of energy emanating from your third eye into the crystal. And you can emanate into that quartz crystal all of the qualities and all of the visions that you want to infuse into the creation process of the actual servitor. If you want to envision what it looks like, envision it, and then push that vision out as a ray of light into the crystal, into the actual sigil, and then throughout the entire geometric pattern of the flower of life, as well as other certain programmings or qualities that you would like to infuse therein. Now, imagine you're creating a certain concoction, maybe a certain potion, a certain elixir, maybe a money drawing oil. Well, let's use the sake for a money drawing oil, for instance, shall we? Right here, I've got an elixir for wealth and abundance. It's an oil, essentially. Okay? Now, let's say I pick a sigil to an entity related to that subject. Bune would be an excellent choice. Bune is excellent for abundance, wealth, riches, and money. Now, we'll be using the flower of life here as a grid for that ability to constantly circumvent energies, as well as provide a rejuvenating boost to whatever it is we're doing. Begin first by activating the sigil of the chosen entity. If you wish, you can put blood thereon. Once then you've activated it and you've scryed into it and you've connected to the being that you're trying to contact, you can simply state a intention such as this, for example, placing your two fingers either side, envisioning your energy flowing out from you into the sigil, gazing therein and stating something like, Bune, demon of wealth and abundance, Arch Infernal Duke, hear me now. I activate this sigil, be it a sigillic gateway to all of your energy, all of your power, and all of your resources. Be it a portal and a vortex to constantly accumulate your essence therein. So it shall be, and I seal this function upon you. A simple statement like that will do the trick. Then, placing that sigil directly in the center. Before you carry on, simply gaze into the whole image. I simply scry into it and allow myself to witness and observe the energy constantly flowing around the flower of life itself and how that energy interacts with the energy of the sigil. Once I do this, I will place anything else on there which I want to place. For example, the citrine, the merchant stone, excellent for wealth. Now, I've got a few other crystals and gemstones around here to do with wealth and abundance and money. However, I'm not going to grab them now. It's completely unnecessary. You may also be aware that all things in existence is a byproduct or product of energy. As Nikola Tesla said, all things are energy. Therefore, even physical money itself is energy. You may actually notice certain practitioners adding money or coins or notes in the spells. Simply connecting these coins onto the grid and focusing on the intention of infusing the actual energy of money therein. You are thinking it, and therefore it shall be. Remember, this is almost like a grid. It activates. Think of it as a spiritual machine of sorts. Money, crystal, gemstones, sigil, and a variety of other different things that you can place there on, all accumulating and releasing their unique energies, yet in accordance with what you're trying to charge it with. Simply then placing the actual oil or elixir in the center. You can even add your specific herbs that which may be related to the actual task at hand. For example, this is an excellent herb used in money workings. Simply having your hands either side and meditating on the energies accumulating therein. Personally, I will get to it right away, sensing the energies herein and pushing my own energy and my own will and intention out of my hands into all of this. I will visualize the colors being associated to the task at hand. Since this is money, I will visualize green, gold, and so forth. And once I visualize those energies accumulating in the coins, in the crystals, in the quartz, in the gems, throughout the lines of the entire flower of life, throughout the lines of the sigil, feeling the entity's energy rising up, and all of these unique energies sort of intertwining as if they were different strings of instruments, literally playing the song of wealth and abundance and intermingling and spiraling up inside here of what we're trying to charge. And simply speaking, a simple statement of intent, such as, I charge this concoction with the powers here present. I infuse the powers of wealth and abundance into you. Simply leaving it like that for a couple hours and then returning. This is another method of which you can use the flower of life in your magic. Don't worry, we're not done, we're still going. And for my guys and girls out there who love Radionics, obviously this is too large, so we'll be replacing it with this one. Of course, you can use this also in your radionic rituals. So let's give an example of this, shall we? Now, of course, you can particularly use the flower of life for literally any reason. I mean, this is truly a universal symbol. However, let's take advantage of yet again its representation of the powers of life. So let's say you take your magical square. Let's say, for example, I am working with an individual who happens to have a lackluster sex life, wants to improve their sex life, or things of that nature. Let's say I take a specific planetary square or magic square exactly for that. Let's say I take a radionic trend card with certain planetary alignments for sexual arousal thereon. Let's say I also put thereon the photograph of the person. Well, of course, let's tap into the life-giving qualities of the flower of life, simply gazing into the center of it again, like a sigil. As you gaze into it, simply program it with your intention, focusing on what you wanted to do. Visualize the actual function and outcome that this actual symbol will provide. Simply placing that. I would start by placing that first. I want to, let's say, put life back into, rejuvenation back into, and vitality back into this man's sex life. Placing, like I said, any magic squares. It hasn't got to be a square, right? I'm just giving an example. Maybe you trend cards, and then maybe the photograph. Simply like that. Obviously, you sit with these for a while, you meditate on them for a while. Of course, you tune in the dials and do whatever it is that you do. And of course, you can go from there. So essentially, we can see that the applications of the flower of life are truly limitless. Don't forget, these can literally be vortexes, symbolic vortexes that constantly exude and emanate forth the power that is contained within this actual symbology. Well, this actual sacred geometry. And remember, all of existence spawned from this one thing. Let's use a very lazy approach, shall we? Let's say you don't have any herbs. Let's say you don't have any crystals. Let's say you need to do something for I don't know, love. Let's say you have no herbs for love whatsoever. Let's say you have no crystals for love whatsoever. Well, if all things came out of this symbol, it is also known that all emotions come out of this symbol. Even non-tangible things like music, sensations, ideas, concepts, all said to have spawned from this universal symbol. So, what am I getting at exactly? You could actually use this as a gateway to pull forth certain energies. Well, how would you do this? Well, I'm about to give you a very simplistic and brief, easy beginner way of doing this. So let's say you have the very bare minimum of ingredients. For example, what have I really got here? Not much. I've got, of course, the gateway from which we will be pulling the exact energies, whatever energies we want. I've also got here a rose quartz sphere. What have I got written here? I've got written here an actual petition, an intention. Now, why am I adding this into here? Well, it's not just a written petition, but the petition in and of itself is carrying the energy of my desire. It is carrying the energy of my intention. And therefore, all that we place here on, all of these energies are going to intermingle, having unique energies which will literally play their own song, their own unique orchestra, so to speak. Now, of course, if you want to, you can place a certain photograph of the individual underneath, if it's targeted at a specific person. If not, that is fine. Let's say you've got your red candle upon the center. Let's say you put your simple written statement of intent thereon, and you place herein your crystal rose quartz. Perfect. You can add other things to this too. It is literally up to you. You can add in simple rose petals. You can add in certain herbs. Okay. Now, like I said, none of these are really necessary, but if you wanted to add more to it, most definitely you can. There's nothing stopping you. Okay. I will actually steer into the whole entire thing, everything that is around this. I'll first tap into this. Let's say I place my fingers, both index and middle finger thereon. I close my eyes, simply breathe in, and I envision an infinite void. And all that is in this void is this symbol, the actual flower of life, seeing it glowing like a divine brand. And from this, all things begin pouring out. Light, dark, energy, matter, seeing the various forms, shapes, and aspects of creation. And I say a simple statement, such as, I activate the flower of life here before me. Be you a gateway through which I can call forth. And let's say I'm calling forth the powers of love. So I will say, so I can call forth the powers of love to rise and manifest herein. I call forth the powers of compassion and passion, the powers of romance and lust, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. Simply stating that and moving your hands away. As you do this, begin scrying there forth, and then begin envisioning that energy coursing throughout the lines. Of course, since this is love, you would imagine those energies or visualize those energies being red. And as that red energy begins glowing and filling up the lines of the entire flower of life, that energy then begins glowing over the petition, over the herbs, over the rose petals, over the crystal, throughout the candle, and then you can simply gaze into the candle and have the effect that you want, simply visualizing whatever you want to visualize, your intention. As I said before, envisioning a ray coming from your third eye directly into the candle and projecting your desire through it. So as we can all see, there are a variety of different applications that we can use for the flower of life. It is truly infinite in its capabilities. It is truly limitless depending on how we use it. For example, something I like to do specifically is if I know certain people who are just low on energy, just people who tell me they feel rough recently, they feel tired, I'll take their photograph and I'll begin gazing into the flower of life. I'll activate it with the intention of calling forth pure, unfettered, untamed, and unfiltered life force energy. I'll put their photograph on top of that. I'll put that onto the box of, let's say, Radionics, and then I'll tune in the frequencies of the dials to match the frequencies of the person on the image, and then the actual life force energies on the flower of life. I personally sometimes carry it. I will gaze into it and I'll just simply connect to that life force energy and I'll feel that vibrate through me. Another thing that I like to do is I like to work on it during meditation, learn the actual geometry off by heart, visualize it and gaze above you, visualize above you that there is a glowing flower of life just radiating through you, pure energy, and that energy can clear you, it can flood your being, it can empower you, it can revitalize you, revamp you, it can do so much. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite crystals of all time that I use a lot in my magical works is selenite. And actually, upon this selenite, as you might be able to see here, I don't know if you can see that, but there's the actual flower of life pattern. And what I'll do is I'll focus on that pattern and I'll visualize those lines glowing with that energy, and I'll activate that sacred geometry upon this to constantly supply me with a ample supply of personal energy, physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, and of course spiritual energy. And I'll keep this on me at all times. So as I was making this video, I was thinking of a specific long tailored guided ritual to do. And I was like, no, there are so many methods and so many different ways that you can apply this. Begin experimenting with this. Yes, meditate on this. Yes, learn about it spiritually. Learn the secrets that it has to explain to you the inner and outer mechanics of this universe. There are literally the secrets of mathematics, of science, of metaphysics, hermetics, everything contained within that one image that you can gain simply through working with it in a spiritual sense. However, us as black magicians, witches, pagans, sorcerers, sorceresses, whatever you call yourself, we like to use actual symbols of power. We like to use them practically to benefit our rituals and our spells. And this is a symbol that can do exactly that. And like I said, it is truly infinite on how we can use it. So comment below. Have you ever used the flower of life in your rituals and in your spells? If so, how did you do it? Share with us all below. I'll be quite intrigued to read those comments. As a matter of fact, maybe you're thinking about doing it. How do you think you're going to go about it? Do you have any cool ideas, cool experiments? Share with me below all of that. If you have any ideas for any topics that you would like me to touch on in the future, comment down below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I got a ton more content coming soon. I did take like a month off. I've been very busy, plus Christmas, plus New Year's. Now we're getting back into the roll of things, guys. I want to say infernal blessings, and if you watched up to this point, thank you very much. Have a great day and a great night, wherever you may be.